I'm very
Oh, sorry. I don't even know if you guys know this man. This guy, Mr. Jake from Jake and Gino. I'm going to have to read this little bio, but I don't really think it's necessary because everything that I say is going to be repetitive to you guys. And if you don't know this guy, first of all, before I start his bio, he left me up here high and dry in New York. He was originally going to be a school teacher like me. He calls it glorified babysitting, and he left me doing it. I've been doing it for 18 years. So this guy's out of the glorified babysitting,
That's
moved
the way
into.
I was doing it. Okay, good teachers, not glorified babysitters. I'm not saying that. That was on me. All right.
Well, I am. I was actually thinking that exact statement today. I'm a glorified babysitter. What are these kids? This is nuts. It was like chaos today in the classroom, but so I appreciate it. On to being a drug rep, then into multifamily. So Jake Stenziano is the best-selling author of Wheelbarrow Profits and the co-founder of jakeandgino.com, the only multifamily real estate investment education company that teaches investors the three pillars of sound apartment investing: buy right, manage right, finance right. Jake is also the founder of Rand Property Management, the first property management company with the focus on modern affordability. As creator of the multimedia multifamily investing framework, Wheelbarrow Profits, Jake is a leading expert on investing in the multifamily space and currently owns over 1,400 multifamily units. I don't know how correct that is now. And he's drinking Pellegrino. Join us, Jake. Thank you.
Hey, all right. Appreciate it, Nico. How's it going, guys?
We're great. We're great. Anything to fill up, Jake, about yourself?
No, I mean, listen, we're vertically integrated group. I think we were talking about that a little bit beforehand, and yeah, I think the big thing here is I think what's interesting about my journey is that we all need to make money in some form or fashion, and we want to repurpose that money into multifamily investing. I think the one thing that, I kind of stumbled in, but I did, really well in was start the property management company because it allowed me to align interests at a level that most people are not able to achieve. And it just happened to work out that I was pretty good at it. We were talking before, we have some guys that were engineers, in my breakout room, some guys that were in tech, doing some things. It's great because you're making money over here. We all have to make money. Okay. We have to have something that's bringing it in. Look, I came from a very middle class family, and it's interesting you're bringing up the teaching thing. The reason I went down the road of being a teacher is simply because I was an athlete in high school. I played football, and it was the only route that I saw coming out of this little town. My dad, like his mom immigrated from Italy. His father worked in a factory, second generation Italian, and my mom's parents were, my grandfather was a cop, so it's very very blue collar, and I didn't have any exposure to entrepreneurship and business owners and how businesses were created. So I think it's very challenging coming out of that environment and trying to okay, figure out what you're going to do. So, I went down a bunch of these rabbit holes that essentially led to nothing before I got the MG down there, Mr. Marco Barbaro, who is really did this is you want to talk about the honeybee. The camera's too low. I got the book behind me, but Marco's the connector in all this, right? He was basically my partner at when I was in the pharmaceutical company doing all our caterings. We were dialed in, absolutely crushing it, to the highest level in that business. When he was at his restaurant, the two of us came together and we were really doing big things, making it happen, from that level. But ultimately, maybe some of you know that we recently sold out of Louisville, Kentucky, because it essentially wasn't in alignment with our values. Okay. There's certain things going on there, similar to the same reason I left New York, many years ago. It wasn't aligning with my values. Okay. I'll give you an example. Marco, Gino, I was looking up to these guys. They owned a business. I thought that was really cool at the time. Right. And I'm saying, Marco, what are your property taxes? He's like, 30 grand a year. I'm like, dude, how the hell are you going to get ahead in life paying 30 grand a year in taxes, 10% to the state? The things go on and on here. You're getting beat down. So I was like, all right, there's got to be a better way. I ranked the different states in Excel. I was looking for better weather. Nico, I'm coming after you with that hoodie on right now. Just kidding, because we were talking about it earlier. But ultimately, I wanted better weather. I didn't want state income tax. I wanted, lower property taxes and a better, business friendly environment. So I said, guys, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm taking a transfer within the company. Moved down to Tennessee, and ultimately, that's when the day that I was leaving. Marco's like, I got to hook you up with my brother. You guys got to talk more. Because literally, Gino was always in the back of the restaurant, just miserable looking, didn't want to talk to anybody. He was kind of like standoffish. He talks about this on some of the podcasts. He just really just absorbed people. And Marco was really like the face of the business. And we opened up the laptop and he's like, holy crap, these things are super affordable. And so it took us 2 years to get in our first deal after we moved down there. But that first deal, I property managed it. And, sorry for the long lead up to this, but ultimately that created an opportunity for me to not only understand the business at a much higher level and get very granular with it, but it also provided another stream of revenue. So every time we do a deal in this room, we each get a stream of revenue from it. We may create additional streams of revenue through laundry, through rubs, yada, yada, but ultimately it's rolling through that income statement and it's going to be reflected in your NOI and your ultimate draw at the end of the month. So that's one. But every time now that I do a deal, I create two streams of revenue. And I'm not here to promote everyone start a property management company, but for me, it's worked out really well because it aligned the interests of not only I need to, make money over here, but I need to make this asset pay me every month. So that was a beautiful synergy there where I was able to get dialed in and then spin off some additional businesses from that. And one of them that we brought into the mix was our CapEx crew. If anyone goes on my, my Instagram story site, you can see literally probably a $50,000 job that we're doing in-house right now for about 12. Maybe it's 35, but regardless, that's a pretty good return to the house. Marco, you're invested on that deal. That feels pretty good at the end of the month when you're not writing a check for 50 and it's coming back a lot cheaper than that. But this allowed me to get more granular, to start hiring more people, to see really the needs of the business and embed myself in systems and say, okay, not only is this rewarding me, it can be challenging at times, but it's allowing me to become a better investor as well. And that's really how these things started moving. So I think that, I've been a student of systems since 2015 now, and we've applied it to all our businesses that we do. And that's a result of, me meeting Jim Clayton, him financing some of our deals and basically assisting. He was, and for everyone out there that doesn't know, he built the largest mobile home manufacturer in the country, sold it to Buffett. And was really didn't spend hundreds of hours with the guy, but definitely had multiple meetings with him, some lunches and things that had a huge influence on me, and really getting dialed in on systems and scalability. So that was all applied to the property management company, and then we did further coaching through EOS and scaling up. So I think aligning interests for everybody out there. It doesn't have to be a property management company, but if you can find a way to replace your income right now from your engineering, from your tech company, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be directly doing what I'm doing, but aligning those interests into one vehicle has been extremely powerful because now it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. The only thing that we do is focus on our people, systems, and culture, which are surrounded around the investments that make us the money. And then we look for more stuff to bring into the mix. And right now we've gotten approved for development. We're hunting dirt. We've got our plans in place. We've been working with engineers because it makes us that much more able to find deals right now. So the market's peaked up a little bit. It's getting a little hot. So maybe we can do a new build and it's going to be a little more efficient than us spending 200,000 per unit on a 90s product or a 2000s product, if you will. So again, it's just staying extremely laser focused and making sure that everything that I'm doing is pouring into this one vehicle. Because ultimately, Nico's joking around about being a school teacher earlier. Well, maybe some of that was, reading these memes that you see out there that are like, hey, follow your passion. You'll never work a day in your life and all this stuff. That's fine until your passion starts to become something that you hate. Even before that, Nico, I was, I've always worked like two jobs in my life and, 8-hour days. It's just kind of who I am. But when I first got out of college, I was doing sales and I was working as a personal trainer because I enjoyed fitness. Absolutely was miserable for me. I started hating the gym because people were whining and bitching because I was telling them to basically push it. You're not going to get anywhere by sitting on your ass and whining. And I started to resent the gym and I didn't want to go. So that whole follow your passion thing, I tried to do it in teaching, tried to do it in personal training. it really failed. But when I put in a lot of hours and dedication and became proficient and really good at something, and then that started to make money, and it allowed my family to live a life of abundance, and we started to systematize and create this well-oiled machine, that's when shit got fun. That's when it was like, oh wow, maybe I am living my passion of success and competency. That's when it kind of got interesting for me. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what you asked, but that's a little bit what I'm doing right now. Hopefully that gives a little intro, and then we can take it from here.
Absolutely, man. Love it. So I would love to dive a little bit more into, first of all, there's so much that I want to unpack, but your journey down there, how was your wife with that, with moving, just uprooting everything and leaving?
Dude, it's such a great question. It's such an important piece that people get hung up on, and they can't get past that because really she was like, what the hell are you talking about? Right. This is our families here. This is what we're doing. Like this is our identity essentially. And we just got engaged at the time. And she's like, what, now we're going to like just uproot and leave. And I was like, look, the math is here. Okay. The numbers are right there. We're going to get an immediate 5-figure increase in salary and a better quality of life just for moving. Okay. That's simple. Not even, all the other little shit that goes along with it. And so I was like, okay, you got to do this. What's the worst thing that can happen? We go down there and we end up moving back. I said, is that fair? And it wasn't the first time. The first time was like a little nudge. Second time was a little more of a nudge. By the third time, it was like, holy shit, he's kind of getting serious with it. And I actually had to try it myself first. And that was very hard. So she was finishing up school at the time. So I actually went down there, rented a 2-bedroom apartment by myself. And man, it showed me how like literally dependent I was on my wife, because I've just always been like, we've been together since I was 20. Okay. So we've like to this day, I'm 39. We've been together 19 years. So that's 6 months. I got weird. Like I was doing things like trying to like fill my time. Like I would go to the grocery store, right? And I'd be like, all right, I'm only going to spend $45 this week, and I'm going to get in and out of there in 25 minutes, like finding ways to entertain myself because I had too much time on my hands. It wasn't healthy for me. So her getting down there, after that in 6 months was really good, because my other thing, I had like these weird New Yorker limiting beliefs. Like, I was going to move to Tennessee, and like, there was like this whole like really thick Southern hospitality, and it was yes ma'am and no sir kind of thing. And I was like, I just had no like idea what was really going on. So I started acting like a weirdo around people. I was making absolutely no friends, and was kind of like this like person that was like isolated. Okay. And then she comes down, gets a job immediately, starts making all these friends, and she's like, you like being weird, just be yourself. And so then things started getting normal. She started like, getting social with everybody. And I was like, oh, this is just like the same shit. And then, we made friends, and it was cool. So yeah, I think it was very challenging, and it was all of, just getting her to be open enough to try it, but knowing that it wasn't forever if it didn't work out. So there was always an option to go back if it wasn't. And then now there's like no way in hell she would ever go back up there. And we actually have a family rule that we don't go there, from November to May, because we don't think it's safe in terms of weather. Right. And that's kind of like a joke, but seriously, it just, it's a little cold up there for us now. So, you can't become a wussy when you get the warmer weather. You know what I mean?
Man, that is awesome, man. It's got to be tough. Hey, I don't want to hog these questions. I can literally ask 1,000 questions right now and guide this and really go for it. But people in the audience, you can either type your question in or unmute yourself and go, because I mean, as I'm saying this, let's dive a little bit into some technicalities of property management, right? Let's talk about your first property management experience and how, like, I think that takes a certain.
Dude, I fucked it up so bad. I fucked it up so fucking bad.
That's like, not good to hear, because I'm on the deal, man.
Dude, how much money do you make off that, Dick? Seriously, how much has that paid you to date? All right, I don't want to hear. I can't even see you on the screen right now, but dude, listen, you're the fucking lottery winner, all right, buddy. You put into that, and then a lot more. So don't give me shit on that one, pal. All right.
Well, let me say one story about that. So I flew down to go. We had a couple properties, and I get there, and I haven't seen Jake in a while since he moved. So we go to his car, and all of a sudden he has like an F-150, a truck, and he's got his backpack and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, managing the property, So that's how we started, with a truck and a backpack, basically. And we walked courtyard. And then Jake, I don't even know. How did
No, dude, it's way worse than that, because my whole idea when we first got it is I bought this like the most affordable riding lawnmower from Home Depot. It was this orange piece of shit. And I thought, like, literally, you guys talk about not knowing anything. Like, I thought I had to do everything. I was like helping guys do some tile because I didn't want to ever have to replace a floor. I was trying to mow the lawns. I was literally doing everything. I had a burner cell phone and, like the whatever, like the renewable cards or shit or whatever. And I would be driving around, listening to audiobooks, like educating myself. Cause that was what I did. I literally was in pharmaceutical for 8 years and probably went through, I don't know, 100 business audiobooks. So you want to talk about an education while I was getting my MBA at the same time was incredible. But so I'm down there taking the burner phone. I'm on the property Mondays, Fridays, and Saturday mornings. And it was really bizarre because I'd be out there at like, I don't know, 8:30 Saturday mornings, like knocking on doors. And everybody, this was like my first experience to people having like pill problems. Like no one was able to move. It was like a fucking zombie community because it's like, this is a rough property. It's a C property. We bought it for shit. It was like 25 a door. I don't even remember. It was all we could get at the time. And these people were like not moving in the morning. So like I started pushing the Saturday mornings back and back a little bit later. But man, like we had no clue what to do, but we quickly, every time, like Gino and I, get on, reevaluate what are we doing wrong? How can we make the bookkeeping better? Now we got in-house accounting and we've scaled up through there quickly, ended up selling the lawnmower, realizing that we needed to get, in-house service. Cause I was like, we can't spend money on anything. It's going to, crush the business. And then ultimately we started realizing, hey, going to get the rents up a little bit. You're going to start getting these folks to pay. And we started getting the bad people out. Once we started realizing that, first and foremost, it was cash. Okay. They only accepted cash and it was weekly renters. You want to talk about like the roughest of the rough. These people, like, they would pay you for a couple of weeks and they just expect to squat. So then I started getting proficient in evictions and I started doing my own evictions until the judge called me out he's like, son, you have a limited liability company here. You cannot be representing yourself. So I was 2-0. He let me slide on the third one. And then that was the end of that. But really from there, we went and we hired a resident manager to help out. And that person did, some work on the property. And then that person didn't work out, ended up being on drugs. And like, it was just gut punch after gut punch. The septic system went out. Fortunately, and this is where the framework started to come in, we bought right. So our saving grace was, we bought right. We got some owner financing on it. So we didn't have this huge nut that we couldn't recover from, saying like, because we weren't, we had to evict 10 people in a month or something like that. Slowly but surely, we started getting the bad people out, started turning some units, started hiring some people to help out, started getting a little bit more dialed in the process. And we were far, far from dialed in at the time. Okay. But it was just constant improvement every month. And we're continually reevaluating what we were doing, how we could get better. And then slowly but surely putting systems in place. We started adding, 6 months from there, we started adding 36 units. Another 6 months after that, we added 136 units. So now we have a small team of, say, 3 managers and assistant, and we got like 4 maintenance techs. And we're starting to learn things, but that brought a whole nother slew of problems. We at that point, when we were up to about 200 units, we had Shelby, the resident humper, on the team. And Shelby, the resident humper, was going around and almost got us in a lawsuit because he was literally going around. He's a maintenance tech having sex with residents. So that was something that we had to deal with in the second year, which was super bizarre. Had to fire that guy. And it kind of became part of it. And it was like, this is nuts. This is absolutely fucking crazy. But you get some weird stuff in property management. But if you're able to solve these problems and continually improve your process and improve the people that you're bringing in, and once we started, the saving grace was really Ruth's Chris. We hired, many of you out there may know, she's essentially our CEO at this point, Jennifer Outland, who's on our team. We were closing I think it was our 5th deal at the time. And she was our waitress. We were at Ruth Chris. She was our waitress and we were there with the banker. And she just had that servitude attitude that I like to call it. And it was just very personable. And I said, this is what we need to bring to property management. And that was at the time, it was about 2015 when I had the whole like mindset evolution that we need to become the Chick-fil-A of apartments. And she represented everything that we were looking for there. So that's where that came from. She had great training, great systems that she picked up at Ruth Chris. We started to apply it, to our folks with inside the property management. Slowly but surely, we started turning over the folks that were no longer culture fits. And there's been a few waves of that. Look, every time you kind of go through these inflection points, sometimes the people that were with you before aren't the people that are going to get you to where you're going. So it's not easy, just recently had to let go of somebody that I hired in 2015. I hired her myself, and just the company started to outgrow her. And these are some of the challenges that you deal with. And it's very sad, but she, the cool thing about it was she literally called me afterwards and said, thank you. She's like, I'm just, some of the systems and things that were put in place now was not a good fit for me. And she was actually appreciative of the time. So it was good as it could be, if you know what I mean. So.
That's great. That's great. Jake, you briefly touched upon the first deal. For the first deal, you did seller financing. Can you explain a little bit of that? How did you come about that? And how did you know what it was? And how did you tell the seller?
I had no idea what it was. Absolutely no clue what seller finance was. Gino, like literally from the beginning, has been my mentor. And even if you're looking at our companies as a whole, so we're getting into development right now. We have the property management company. We've done some syndications, and then Gino is there running the education arm of the business. Out of the amount of time that the education company takes up, it is my lowest return on effort, if you will, because it takes up a lot of time. We pour our hearts and souls into it, but it's great because it provides opportunities like this. I'm speaking with all you great folks tonight, really amazing people on the podcast, but it's not like the actual investing, right? It's more of, I don't want to call it a passion project because I don't think that would be completely fair, but it's taking all of this stuff that we've done and basically put it into a package to shorten everyone's learning curve. So, going back to that all stemmed from Gino's, time that he spent educating himself and investing. So he started educating me on seller financing at the time. We talked to the broker about it. And, Gino's thing, hey, it always used to be, hey, would they be willing to hold a note? That was like the line back then. And then you would kind of present it to the broker. And it was a little bit easier of a time to do that, because the market wasn't as hot. We're running up right now. It's cyclical. There'll be, opportunities for this. But I think the thing that I learned from that is we were negotiating on the deal and hit a little bit of a stall. And the times that we've used seller financing, owner financing, whatever you want to call it, it's always been when there's been a motivated seller, typically a mom and pop, and negotiations have started to stall. And that's been the bridge to getting the deal over the line. And it was no different here. The broker brought it up to them. They were more than happy to do it. I would say that, this 25 unit, their mindset was probably more similar to what you see in like the mobile home space right now. They had some mobile home parks as well. So they were more kind of in that headspace, but that doesn't mean it's not possible on a larger deal. We did a 281 unit with the same sort of structure. And the way we like to do owner financing is we like to have the sellers actually provide our down payment to the bank. And if you're comfortable using a community bank, it's going to be recourse financing. To do that, it's a great way to get your career really, rocket shipped up and started, because, as folks move on and they start, getting bigger and in some of these larger investments, some people start to shy away from recourse financing. And I get it. I completely understand that. But if you're in a hyper growth phase of your career and you're looking to launch up, I think it's a great option. I'd still do it today. I think it's been, it's really been phenomenal for us. But, the getting someone to finance an entire deal, depending on their situation, may work, but I think they're much more open to doing the down payment and bringing in a community bank to kind of cover the rest of the gap there. So,
thank you, great. We have a question from Lens. Lens, why don't you just unmute yourself and speak up?
Lancey.
Hey, Jake, everybody, what's up, guys? Yeah, so hi, my name is Lance. I actually just sold an owner finance deal today with my partner who's been on this.
You sold one. You're financing somebody.
No, we sold our owner finance deal. The lady's like 80 years old.
Are you a broker?
No, the lady, we own the deal and we had it funded 90% by the lady who owned it.
Oh,
and,
I got you.
We sold it today. Yeah, so the payoff letter was like for 2 weeks ago, and I was trying to explain to her that I was like, it's $22 a day interest. that we're adding to it, and she didn't like understand it this morning. She almost
Hey, that's
like
that's
delayed
something
the
everyone
deal.
needs to watch with the bank too, because if you're you sell something or whatnot with a bank and you don't get that payoff in, that interest is happening until they get their payoff. So watch out for that. That's a great point. So been a few
Yeah.
times where we've gone from like refi to a different bank and it's been an issue, but yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, I guess I can read it. The majority of your deals, Jake, do they have a full-time maintenance guy on site and leasing agent on site? And do you think within the property management team, and do you think it's crucial to have that if you're investing out of state, obviously depending on the deal size? So that's my question.
Yeah. So what we've been able to do, and it's really, really been helpful to us, is we're within about a 3-hour radius right now. Again, we're in Louisville. Wasn't really loving the market, so we've compressed right now. We're within a 3-hour radius. All of our deals are within a 3-hour radius. Most of them are within probably 45 minutes of one another, though, really and truthfully. And so what we like to do is set ourselves up into pods of 200 unit districts. Okay. And so what we'll do is we might have 150 units and then a 40 unit down the road. And then you have ultimate coverage of all of those assets. And so we may have 2 to 3 maintenance techs in that pod, but they're going to be reporting to the office at the 150 unit, but they're able to cover the 40 unit down the street. So I'm bullish on having more maintenance techs than the industry kind of, speaks for. So a lot of folks say 1 tech for every 100, 125 units. I'm more in line because we're really concerned with high level service about every 75 at least, because I want to make sure we're knocking out, low work orders. We don't want a bunch of work orders. We want to make sure the property is well kept. So I prefer about 1 per 75 personally. And I'm, willing to bet on our ability to outperform in operations to cover any kind of loss in, say, like net income. We're typically above $150 in profit per unit per month. Okay, and consistently, if you average a portfolio. So if I had a 40 unit isolated, I would be more inclined to pay for a full-time a full-time maintenance person on that property if we can make the numbers work when I'm performing my budget. I would rather have a higher level of service and then find somewhere for that person to grow in the future than cheap out and try to be a dumbass and I'm not calling you a dumbass, but like myself used to be on the orange lawnmower thinking I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do everything. So if you're thinking about growing in that area and you only have 40 units, then I would rather sacrifice short-term returns to make sure I'm creating a great environment that's going to be prosperous in the future. Yeah. And dude, rents are going through the roof right now. Okay. Hopefully if you bought right, you're going to be able to catch up with that. I mean, we sold out of Louisville, Kentucky, 400 units. Our gross income is going to be higher this month than when we had those 400 units from before due to rent increases. That's how hot this market is right now. So let's banter a little bit about this. Does that answer your question? Let's get a little more, because I feel like we're kind of there, but I want to make sure I'm answering you specifically.
No, it definitely answers my question. Having people on site on your payroll daily helps get things done the right way quicker. What does an average maintenance guy make if you pay him full time per year in the markets you're at? Is it 40 grand, 45 grand?
Where are you going to be?
Well, I'm in Pennsylvania right now, but as I contemplate some other markets.
So what do you think, Chad? What do you think is a good number? 18, 19 bucks an hour? Something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, up in this area, though, the labor market is so tight. I would say 19 is doing pretty good for just a general maintenance tech. That's on the high end.
That's on that. So you get somebody, maybe. So one thing, and here's another thing that we're doing right now. We have, like I said, we have our CapEx crew, that are doing, just about anything right now, which is fantastic. Then we have our leads, our maintenance leads, which, maybe some folks would call a maintenance manager. And then we have our regular maintenance techs. But then we have our maintenance assistants. And so how many units do you have right now, Lance? Okay. He's gone there.
About 30.
About 30. Okay. So ultimately, as you start to grow and scale, what we've done, we've actually utilized our LMS, our training platform that we utilize for Jake and Gino for all our training videos and everything. And we've actually used that same system to create a training program for all of our maintenance techs. And there's tiers where they can level up. So, think with the end in mind as you start to grow and scale, that different positions will have a different pay scale. And ultimately what you want to be doing is recruiting that bench. You want to be recruiting your single A, double A, triple A players to progress them to the majors. Because when you go out on the market and you try to hire Kobe right now, Kobe's, I feel bad, rest in peace, maybe, LeBron or someone that's active, but they're going to be expensive, right? They may be like a guy that's HVAC certified, can do all the plumbing that you need, because when you start to sub this stuff out, that's what makes me cringe. And if I start to see plumbing bills and things like that, I get pissed. And we ultimately look to solve those. So, that first hire, maybe it's worth to spend a little more, maybe once you get to 60 units or something like that, for a guy that can handle that stuff. And then you bring in someone under him that's essentially an apprentice when you're up to 100 units, and then he starts training that person, because then that person may be coming in for $14 an hour. And then they're able to start to scale up, and you're able to take, advantage of they're getting a benefit because they're training underneath that person, and they're bringing them up to get their knowledge and their skill set up. And that's really what we focus on. We have our high level folks, we have the training program, and then they're being tested to level up, and then they're getting a pay bump when they're leveling up, and a bonus. So it's trying to bring people to the system. So 30 units, that's a tough number, man. That it's hard to say like that's going to support a full-time person, but I think the best thing that you could do is get more units in that area. And at least if you can, and here's the thing, if you can get somebody that's part-time, great. It may or may not be able to do it. Tight labor market right now, to Chad's point. But I think that the more you can, provide your folks with a high level of service, the better your investment is going to do.
Thank you. Yeah, that answers my question. So looking at bigger deals, what is it, like 40, 50 units, 60 units? When do you hit that level when you can support a full-time maintenance guy, a full-time leasing agent? What's that kind of wheelhouse?
Well, for me, that's what I was getting to earlier. Like, I think it's 75, where it should really roll up in your numbers quite well, right? I think you should be able to support a mid-tier office player and a decent maintenance tech with 75 units. Yeah. But it may be worth taking that short-term sacrifice right now at the 30 to, and that's what I was going back to. There's a tweener type person out there that probably is not going to work out that well, but you could try. That's like maybe lives on site right now, can do a little bit of both. There's a few unicorns out there, but you may have to go through a few folks, to get that person right now that can do a little bit of the leasing and do a little bit of the turns. I haven't had great success with that person, but it's not to say that it can't be done. Resident assistant, I think, something like that they call them. Yeah.
Awesome. This is freaking amazing, man. Thank you, Jake, so far. And anybody else, if you don't have a question, before I ask this next question, I'm going to ask it, and I'm going to hog this conversation, guys. Well, unmute yourself.
It's your platform, Nico.
That's okay. I want people to participate, but here we go. All right. You mentioned EOS, and I've heard you and Gino talk about EOS, and I looked into it. I read this stuff, and I really want to do it. And I know people that are doing it. Actually, I don't know, not somebody on this call, but people that I know are doing it. Would you mind sharing a little bit about EOS and how you guys utilize that, and if you're still implementing it?
Yeah. So ultimately, it's just you need structure to your business, and we've taken components of, and again, entrepreneur operating system, scaling up. We've hired coaches from both of these groups, and there's other folks out there, like Maui Mastermind. We've worked directly with those folks as well. I wanted to really just try to understand as much about what businesses are doing to become predictable, and then to mimic that. And so they all have their similarities, right? But ultimately, we started to create our own, and we just call it the Cadence of Accountability. And so we started, one thing we really liked from EOS is their level 10 meeting. So one thing that I do personally is I have a level 10 meeting with everyone that's running one of my entities. And it used to be every week. Now it's every 2 weeks, but they have a level 10 meeting with their direct report. So if you we have 22 entities right now under management that are just properties. So everyone that's running one of those entities is reporting up to their area manager. That area manager is reporting up to Jennifer, who we talked about before. And it cascades through organization. There's level 10 meetings, amongst the maintenance folks as well, and our training department, HR, et cetera. It's all there. Okay. But for myself, I want direct FaceTime every 2 weeks with that property manager who's managing that component of my portfolio, because I've seen so much of this shit over the years. It's just, I can pinpoint the stuff very quickly, and it helped to accelerate the process. So it's a 30-minute meeting. We have the goals lined out at the top. We have the tasks that are supposed to be pulled through that roll up to the goals. You get some engineers here. We're just reverse engineering this stuff to make sure it's getting pulled through. And then at different parts of the week, where, hey, maybe this is the best week for delinquencies. I think it's the third week we're going over delinquencies. We have something called a pulse report that gets put out every Friday. It has all the KPIs on it listed across the board. There's no hiding. All of your stuff is put out there for the world to see amongst the entire company. There's weeks that we go over that. There's weeks that we go over leasing. So every week has a highlight in addition to making sure that we're getting the tasks pulled through. And there's always one exterior improvement project on there that we're doing. So that's essentially how that component of it runs. We then have a quarterly planning day for the executive team. I have a monthly executive team meeting with just Rand Property Management, and then the bigger executive team where we sit down for a full day. We review financials, and then we set the next quarter's priorities. And that's, you have to do that. Like if you have even a couple people in your organization, you have to sit down, and it has to be very, dialed in, where you're sitting down, you're going over what worked, what didn't work, and then setting those 2 to 3 priorities for the next quarter, and ensuring that those are going to get pulled through. Some of the really nice things that we pulled from this was the net promoter scores, because ultimately for me and my desire of creating the Chick-fil-A of apartments, well, I need feedback. We need that feedback loop coming through. So that's done through net promoter scores. And we also do employee net promoter scores, which we were able to utilize and showcase locally. And we're actually, winning awards now as top employer in Knoxville and things like that. So that's worked out well there. But it's just, I think it's a level of clarity across the entire business, and it allows you to follow the Rockefeller habits, which that we took from scaling up. So every quarter we're looking at these different Rockefeller habits, and we rank them, and wherever we feel that we're deficient, we're actually putting priorities in place to get better on that Rockefeller habit as well. So I think, like a brief overview, that's some of the high level stuff that we incorporate, but it's essentially, it's sort of like the operating system for our business. We pulled and took the pieces that we really liked, and then basically created this cadence structure. And that's really how our business runs, day in and day out. So
Great.
Is that helpful? That you want to get more specific on that, or just want to make sure I'm okay?
That's a great system, Jake. I have a question, but before I go there, Ian has a question. So why don't you unmute yourself and speak up, Ian?
Hey, Jake from New Zealand. How's it going?
Oh, Hadar's buddy.
Yeah, mate. That's it.
Awesome.
How are you? Good?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Hey, thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Just a quick question. Do you run a portal or something so your clients can log jobs, or you can update them about any renos or anything you're going to be doing on the property, just so that there's a one place
multiple different ones, right? Because we have the different businesses. So we have Appfolio on the property management side, and it's really cool because it enables us to your point, communicate directly with the residents. And there's a Q1 going back to priorities. So one thing that we also do is we look to the future and say, what can we eat this quarter? What's going to be in the future? So what I'm really targeting, I'll give you an example for Q1, is I want all of our units to have washer dryer hookups in the units. Okay. So I'm creating another division of our CapEx team to actually implement that. And it's the same thing with flooring. We started an entire flooring division this year, for our CapEx team. So they're installing LVP in every unit, and we have a tracker that goes by every week. This is how many completed. This is how many we are from having the entire portfolio completed with LVP, because that's 20-year flooring. And that's one cost that will go out the window in the next 3 years. Same thing is everyone wants washer dryer hookups in their units. We're going to basically blanket the portfolio with that. But going back to that Chick-fil-A type customer service, we're able to text message directly with the residents. So what we're going to start doing in Q1 of next year is we're actually going to start on the 15th of every month, reaching out to the residents saying, do you have any maintenance issues? Do you have any maintenance concerns? Because what we find now is that we're leasing so rapidly that no one comes on site anymore. Nobody comes on site to look at the damn unit before they lease it. It's all sight unseen, because during the whole pandemic, we created this YouTube thing where they can you view everything virtually and whatnot. Dude, these kids don't want to talk to anybody. It's like, it blows. Like, I would be like, let me get in there. I want to smell this sucker. Let me see what this is about, right? They don't care. So they go sight unseen. So what does that tell you? They don't want to pick up the phone and actually speak to someone. So how do you make a better experience for that person? You send out monthly texts saying, hey, do you have any resident issues? Because they might not have one at that point, but that's going to stay in their texts, and they know, oh shit, the drip pan is overflowing, something's clogged in there. Now they can go to their text, and it becomes ease of use. And guess what? If it's hard for them to break that cycle, and it's like, this is so easy for me living here, they have such great customer service, they take care of all my issues, they're not going to want to leave. And we're addressing our biggest concern, which is resident turnover, and we're suppressing that by offering that higher level of service. So that's one way that we use, and one way that we're looking to build on our systems and use that portal, if you will. We also use a company called Groundbreaker. Okay. And that is used for the folks that invest with RAM partners. Okay, so that's a way that we communicate there. And then our whole cadence of accountability and everything that is built for everything we do systems wise internally is just run on Google Docs. So all of our policies and procedures, everything, it's kind of push Dropbox out of the way. I still have Dropbox for, like entity docs, because I'm an old fart, and I'm not as proficient as some of the other folks on the team, but I like to keep some stuff in there still. But yeah, that's essentially how we're using this stuff. And then for all of the production and things that we do on Jake and Gino, that's being run through Monday. If you guys know, I don't really know how to use the damn thing. I just kind of stumbled my way through it. But yeah, so there's Monday there. Yeah.
It's great because we've all got experiences of renting somewhere and having bad experience, and not hearing back from the landlord and all that. And things are going pretty good. It sounds like in America at the moment. Yeah, and people don't want to talk on the phone these days. But when you want to put rents up or the market changes, you've got that insurance policy, because I know that you've been looking after them all this time when the sun was shining. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think the communication is key, and getting them. It's. I don't want to sound like a weirdo, but getting them conditioned, into the portal, yes. and then starting to text back and forth becomes something that's comfortable. And it's. Yes. Do I want to leave this now because it's easy for me, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you, Jake. Since we're almost running out of time, I can ask this question and use it as a final closing questions. So when we think about Jake, we always think about Gino together. So my question
there's no Jake without Gino, so that's very appropriate.
Right.
And there's no Jake and Gino without the MG over there, Mr. Marco. So it's a family affair.
I was going to say, you got to throw the MG in there too, man. Come on.
So in Jake and Gino and MIG Mastermind, Marco always emphasized about this, the importance of partnership. What is your view on partnership through Gino and your relationship, and how everyone should strive to become and find a partner, and how to add value?
So the value is the key, right? It's all about alignment of values, and I'm not here today if it's not for Gino, and I'm not here today if it's not for Marco. Okay, it's as simple as that, and that's how powerful partnerships are. Multifamily is a team sport. I know I sound like a broken record, but there's no denying it. Okay, that's why everyone is on this Zoom call right now. Multifamily is a team sport. People understand that. It goes back to the 1700s and talking about the division of labor. Okay, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of people's needs that need to be served, and this goes back to what I said early on. Look, we all need that base source of income, right? So if you can align it with something around multifamily, if multifamily is going to be your vehicle, it has worked out beautifully for me, because it's literally rinse and repeat. I don't need to create anything new. I can just continue doing the same thing over and over again. Not necessarily going to always be the case, because I like to start new stuff, but ultimately You need to be comfortable enough to get out there and network, because it's not going to work well for you if you try to go it all alone, in my opinion. I really do think, being a part of these things, getting on different masterminds, but finding someone that has aligned values with you, because the worst thing is going to be that, if I try to call Marco and he doesn't answer the phone, or he needs to get a document in it, or there's something going on there and I can't count on him, that's not going to work. If I go over to Nico and I'm like, okay, Nico, we're going to start this property management company, and I'm relying on you to make sure that this gets done. That's your responsibility. And when you go through this systems training that we're talking about, and we have it all in our academies for people to use now, but when you go through this, if you're not following that, okay, you got to be able to break up with that person too. The thing that, to this day, there's never a time that I know that Gino's not going to be there for me. If there's something needs to be done, and vice versa, and same thing with Marco, that's where the values comes through. So and I just want to say this to everybody and challenge you, if you're in a toxic relationship right now, and I'm not talking about with a spouse or something like that, but if you're in a relationship with a business partner or with a bank, or someone that's not aligning with your values and your level of hustle and your determination, and the relationship doesn't have to be done tomorrow, but unwind that and get out of it, because you're never going to live your best life, and you're never going to be able to sprint together. And I say this to my team all the time. If there's someone on the team that's gone negative, or whatever the case may be, we need to be able to sprint together and have an alignment of values. So make sure that whoever you're partnering with, whatever you're doing, get your core values down, understand how that person works. And to this day, all 22 of our different real estate holdings has a separate operating agreement, because people can go fucking nuts. You never know when someone's going to lose their mind or something, right? Keep everything in a separate operating agreement, separate company, but just make sure that you're always evaluating the relationship, and make sure that the two of you are in enough alignment where you're able to sprint together, and don't be afraid to walk away. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, look, I'm not going to, and Marco knows, he knows, because he jokes about it with certain people that have come into our world. I don't put up with the shit. I just don't. Life's too short. I want to live a life of abundance. Cut those people out of your life. If you're negative and you're on my team, I will fire your ass quicker than anything else. I do not deal with negative people. It's as simple as that. I just don't. No, it's too short. Dude, negative people are the drain of for me personally, if you're going to be negative and you're going to come in my office, you're going to bitch and you're going to complain about stuff, I don't have time in my life for that. There's not time allotted in my universe. I've been able to create a life for myself, and I don't allow for that, because I know it's going to be draining, and I can't sprint if you're bitching. We can't run together, because you're going to be pulling me down. So
Jake, I want to add one thing to that for you.
Marco, you saw with my last partner in the pharmaceuticals. It was the same shit. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
So the power partnerships, Yosef, we teach it all over at Jake and Gino. I put up a post on Jake and Gino Facebook page the other day. Nicholas DeLeon, Kenny Lou, Marshall Friedman, and one of their other partners, they joined Jake and Gino. Kenny Lou and all those guys, they would never have been able to close 130 units. How'd they do it? They networked to Jake and Gino. They formed the team. They took the deal down. That's the power partnerships, like me, Jake, my brother, right? Tomorrow morning, I'm putting up a post on Jake and Gino. Mike Constantis joined Jake and Gino. He partnered with Duran Rice, Chris Weiser, and Gwaith. They're closed 6 deals, and they got 4 in contract. It's like almost unbelievable, not credible, right? How is that? Jake and Gino, they're following our model of me, Jake, my brother. And we teach the partnerships. You don't just go in and you don't partner on a deal with your buddy that you grew up with just because he's your friend, he's got money. No, what Jake said, it's the people with the same ethics, goals, energy as you. You're a hustle. Why do you think Hadar's my partner? Hadar has that hustle like Jake. Me and Jake, besides multifamily, we crushed it when I was in the restaurant business, man. He gives me credit today. In 2008, in that recession, when I met him, restaurants were closing. He motivated me to do like tapas and do cooking classes and streams of income in the restaurant that he does streams of income in multifamily. It's exact same concept.
And it's the values of the community. There's not people coming into the community that are shitheads. It's as simple as that. Josh and Dylan do a great job on the front end to make sure that they're good fits. And we try to keep it tight. So
that's great. That's right. Proximity is power. Proximity is power. We've got Travis wanted to ask you a question, and that will be the last question, and we'll wrap up.
Here's a quick answer to that question. My boy Travis is on. I just did a podcast with Jake and my brother on the 100 year, And my brother Gino made me get whole life insurance when I was 30 years old, or else I could not do another deal with him. He would not be my partner ever again. But
Dude, what's the question, dude? Come on.
Yeah, I'll let him answer. Travis, unmute yourself. Come on, man. Come on.
I'm unmuted.
Let's go. I want to hear you go.
He just said you gotta let him speak, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead. My boy Travis right there. What's up?
happening? Okay, I've been watching the videos. I grew up, you buy term, you invest the difference. So I guess my question is what makes that infinite banking concept so attractive?
So there's real simple for me, real simple for me. And I'm blessed, to be, in the business that I'm in. I blew up my 401k back in the day to put the money in a multifamily. It was a complete pain in the ass unwinding that thing. My company was telling me no. Guys, I love freedom. I don't like being told what to do. It's I think very clear. I'm not trying to be a crazy person. I had a Roth, same kind of bullshit. Okay. Blew that thing up, So ultimately, and now for myself, fortunately, knock on wood, life is good. I'm extremely liquid right now, and I'm poised on the next one. So every million that I keep in the bank right now, I'm losing $35,000 a year, literally off the top, if I don't have that money in whole life. Okay. In addition to that, I'm gearing myself up and I'm looking, down the road, not only for my kids, but my kids' kids. Okay. So I'm setting up trusts right now. Similar. Remember we talked about the Rockefellers. I've been studying Rockefeller Trust and I've been studying Vanderbilt Trust. Rockefeller Trusts are still crushing it. Okay. And the reason the Rockefeller Trusts are still crushing it and the Vanderbilts are broke is because they forced their kids to buy whole life policies to reinvest. So when I die, as a real estate investor, not only will I be liquid at that point to a certain extent, but my kids are going to be ridiculously liquid. Not the trust is going to be ridiculously liquid because that money is going to go into the trust. Okay. And then I'm creating an entity that's going to live on years past me. Why? Because I like doing this shit. I want to create some great stuff for my family that lives on after I'm gone. I could not and just, let the government take the money and do what they want with it. But by setting up trust the proper way, by utilizing whole life insurance, not only am I not losing $35,000 for every million that is sitting in the bank right now, but I'm setting my family up for the future. And, look, it may not be for everybody. You need to be, in a position financially, not rich or anything like that, but you need to be in a position financially where, okay, this is going to make sense. Because think about it like this. I can go and buy a term policy. Great. I'm renting that. At a certain point, that's going to burn off. And then I'm going to be spending a lot more money, but I'm going to have zero at the end. These are guaranteed death benefits. So look, I don't know what taxes are going to be when I die. Okay. I don't know how my state's going to be looked at. There could be new laws and shit introduced. I know that this death benefit is going to be there for me, putting it into my trust, and it's going to create an opportunity for my family to do really well, hopefully reinvest it. And I'm going to force them to have policies on themselves and future generations to access that trust to make sure that continues to roll on. A few things that I want to see happen. I want my kids to read Atlas Shrugged. Okay. I want them to reinvest the money. I want them to get a whole life policy on themselves, put it back in, and I don't want them to sell the assets. It's 3 simple rules. Okay. You little bastards up there. I hope you're listening. That's what I want them to do, because that shit will roll and that will create generational wealth for a very long time. So hopefully that sums it up. It's as simple as that for me. Like it's a cash management tool that's very easy to access that I'm not, dude, and they're trying to screw with the rules to all this 401k shit. I don't want to be involved in that, guys. I don't. Okay.
Travis, my brother made me get it at 30 years old. We had buy-sell agreements on our buildings and the restaurant. And I did a podcast with my brother and Jake. First podcast I ever did in my life. I don't do podcasts. All right. I don't need to. So I did that one.
Damn, that's a bold statement right there, man.
I don't need to.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, it's a CL smoothie, baby.
Yeah. I got to bring the pain, you said. No, so I broke it down for beginners. Because like you said, it's not for everybody. But if you watch that podcast, you'll see why Gino made me get it. And it fit my life. Now I have a death benefit for my kids. And I have $300,000 cash value where I borrowed that money. It's in multifamily, and I'm getting a 5% interest on it, and I borrowed at 3%.
And now you got a baller ass death benefit and a multifamily property at the same time. That's the point. But you're not having a fight to get your money when a fucking beautiful deal comes along. That's all.
But watch, that was a first and last podcast. The first podcast I ever did with my brother too, with Jake, was pretty awesome. So when that comes out in 3 weeks, because I don't know when the thing's ready. I'll definitely send it over to you, man. It's really, I'm excited about it. It came out really good.
I'm sure it did. Thank you. I don't want to keep you any longer. Matter of fact, I'm gonna reach out to Gino too, because I just have some more questions. But
No worries.
Yeah.
Keep it
I
simple,
appreciate
man. Keep it simple. You got it. All right.
Man, this has been epic. I don't want to end this, man, but so like if people go out at night and Fridays, Saturdays, they go hang out at bars and that's their fun. But this for me is freaking killer. Thank you, guys.
You gotta be careful when you get me and Jake together, man.
It does get a little cuckoo. It can
It all
get cuckoo
started at
nutty
a
at
Yankee
times,
game.
man. Oh, it did. It did. You don't want to see me and him at a Yankee game. So
This is epic. I love it. Well, so since there are no more questions in the chat box, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be mindful of everybody's time. It's been phenomenal, Jake. I'm stoked to get to know you more. Just love to hear your story, love your knowledge, and all the questions. And like everything, my ears are just like, boom, listening. I love it, love it, love it. So thank you, guys. And I'll be posting I'll be sharing the link to the YouTube video. I'll be sharing some links to connect with Jake.
hey, before we go, the other thing is to get yourself set up for success now, right? Depending on where you go with trust and things like that in your life, get yourself set up with a holding company now. Have everything flowing through that holding company. Invest in the LLCs that you do. Keep it simple, right, guys? I'm not telling you what to do. That's what I do. I know you always like these disclaimer things, but I think that makes sense for me. Okay, so I love holding companies, and then utilizing that holding company to do the different things, and I really do. I think you really should. There's an opportunity right now where it's almost about 25 million that you can get across the line into trusts if that's something that you're looking to do. I know everyone's in a different position, but that's going to get knocked down here. So, I think there's some kind of cool things that we can do, for our future generations right now, and the window may be closing. So
last thing I put up for you, Jake, because for non-Jake and Gino members on here, I put up on the chat, jakeandgino.com. For the non-Jake and Gino members, any questions you can ask all the Jake and Gino members on here about it, or you can just reach out to Josh Rusin about the community, about the education
Jaybird.
and everything great. The Jaybird. I got to jump. Guys, thank you. Jake, always good seeing you. And you, Nico and Yosef, really appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good night.
Thank you everyone for joining tonight. We learned a lot and ton of good stuff today. Thank you again, Jake, and for coming, and everyone. We'll see you again next month. Adios.
MM4, right?
MM4, yes, MM4.
All right.